Hey, everybody. I am so excited today. I have my friend Lisa McLeod here. She is a sales expert. She has keynoted in over 25 countries. She's a best-selling author. I think of multiple books, right? Am
Yes, but we're only going to talk about one today.
Okay, we're only going to talk about one. So we're going to be talking about Selling with Noble Purpose, which is now in its second edition, right?
Yeah, it was addiction for me. That's good with both.
Well, what I was stumbling over to say that you've now released the second edition of the book, which is really exciting. And I've been reading it, and I see how you really took the time to go in and address. I'm sure you updated a lot of stuff, but you really took time to show how our current the quarantine and coronavirus and everything, not only what's changed in business since you wrote the book, but like really tailoring it to what's going on
Mhm.
now. um, so thank you so much for being here today.
It's
I'm
a pleasure.
really excited to talk to you. And my earring is kind of funny. Um, so yeah, one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about, your book is aimed more toward corporate, but we were going to talk about how coaches and healers can apply your
Right.
concepts to their businesses. So why don't you first tell us, like, what is noble purpose?
Okay. So noble purpose is about the difference you want to make in the world. And, when you talk about healers and coaches, you have such an important role to play in this world that you already know, or you wouldn't have chosen the profession. The thing that the juxtaposition here is the difference between selling and noble purpose. And people think that those words don't go together, but what our research tells us is that they actually do. And it is the secret of this heart-centered, make a difference, high revenue life, is getting those two things together.
I love it. I love it. So you were in the corporate world, and you were
Mhm.
seeing these things in your own company, and then you started to consult with other companies,
That's
and
right.
really saw that people that were motivated by something other than just money
Mhm.
were outperforming the people who were all about, getting the bonus, or getting the trip, whatever contest they were running with
Right.
the people. So tell me more about that.
So what the research tells us is what some of us have, you may have experienced this yourself, which is when you have an individual or a group of people that are overly focused on closing the deal, closing the deal, closing the deal, that behavior is often very off-putting to the buyer. And we know that. We've seen that. We've been on the receiving end of that. And the good news for top performing salespeople is that behavior of just focus on the deal is not authentic to who the top performers are. And what our research demonstrated was that there was this underlying mindset of top performers. And it was not that they didn't care about money. It was that their end game was making a difference to the customer. And so it was an ordering thing, because we create this false paradigm, this false dichotomy where we say, I can either care and give, or I can be ruthless and sell. And actually, the data tells us something completely different. The research tells us that when your aim is to make a difference to customers and you have yourself priced accordingly and you have your right business model in order, you will actually wind up making more money. And it played out in the research individually for individual sellers or coaches. It also played out collectively for organizations.
I love that. I love the story that you use about the woman that I think she was in medical sales.
Yeah, that's how I actually landed on this. A big biotech company had asked us, this was over a decade ago, had asked us to do an assessment of their sales team, and they wanted to identify what differentiated the top performers.
Mhm.
And so we went out in the field, we studied all these salespeople, and it was a blind study. We didn't know who the top performers were. We just knew we weren't with any bottom performers. It was
Mhm.
good performers and the top. And near the end of the study, this one representative, I asked her this one question. And I confess, it was hot. It was in Phoenix, Arizona. We'd finished a 2-day ride along. I didn't want to get out of the car. I got on my suit jacket and everything. It was boiling hot. And I'm just sitting in that air conditioning. I've already asked her all the questions. And I'm kind of taking a deep breath. And I looked over at her and I go, what do you think about when you go on sales calls? And she told me this story about this grandmother that came up to her one day and said, "Oh, thank you for this drug. Thank you for giving me my life back." And she told this emotional story about thinking about that grandmother every day, and that was her higher purpose. And
Mhm.
so what happened was I thought, that wasn't on our list of things, higher purpose in terms of assessing sales teams. But I went back to the interviews and I found four other people that alluded to that without using those exact words. And at the end of the study, the biotech company said, "Who do you think our top people are?" And I said, "I think it's these five." And that's who it was. And that was the start of noble purpose when I realized this does differentiate people. What we have to do now is figure out how to get this mindset that is innate in top performers
Mhm.
and make it accessible to everyone else and recalibrate our businesses so that we're leading with that instead of leading with the money, because it makes a big difference and you wind up making more money.
I love it. I love it because I'm so passionate about the personal development industry. Like I've gotten
Yeah.
personally so much out of it, and but also as being a coach, I've gone through all these trainings, and the way that most people teach how to sell doesn't really align with my values. It's not really how I want
Mhm.
to sell. It doesn't feel good, and it was a huge stumbling block for me for a long time. And so I love, how you're saying like you don't have to be ruthless. It's not about being ruthless.
Right.
It's not about pushing for the sale. You can actually be more successful, make more money. And then what I also love about this approach is that these happy customers are going to be the ones that are going to give you the referrals.
They're gonna give you referrals, yeah. And I do wanna draw a distinction here, and it's best, drawn by looking at 2 words. It's the difference between being aggressive and being assertive.
Hmm.
And one of the things that people often say is, "Oh, I don't wanna sell. It's icky." And I'll tell you, especially women, it because we've been taught our whole lives, don't go ask, wait for them to ask you. If you have to ask, you're not we got a whole story in our heads about that.
Right.
Yeah, it's not only women, but it is especially women.
Hmm.
And so the thing that I want to be clear on, what we found out in the research was, again, you got to have your business model right. You can't
Right.
just wish and hope and dream. That's a good start, but it's not going to, come up with
Got to
any
have
real
some
money.
strategy. Got to know, your ideal client,
Client, all of that,
market. Yeah.
be out there marketing. But what your end game is, this is the shift. Your end game is how you want to make a difference to customers, and then the money follows that. And because you want to make a difference, when you have clarity about your noble purpose, which is what we call it, and it's not just vaguely, I want to make a difference, it's very specifically. So in our company, our noble purpose is to help leaders drive revenue and do work that makes you proud. We want to help people make more
Mm,
money and have more meaning. And so everything we do is in the service of that. When you have clarity about that, you do need to be assertive.
mhm.
And that's where a lot of people say, "Oh, good, I don't wanna be icky." And oftentimes, the prevailing tactics out there put us off, but if you think that you can do this without speaking up, no. But
Right.
what happens is, so often, the tactics that are taught are in the service of the close,
Hmm.
instead of in the service of improving life for customers. Because we humans, we're at our best when we're trying to help somebody else. We're more assertive. We're
Hmm.
more proactive.
Hmm.
That's where you gotta get your mind first is, how am I gonna make a difference to customers? And then if you're serious about it, then you do sell, but it's coming from a totally different place in your heart than that graspy energy.
Yeah, the graspy is or the pushy is just it's really gross. And I teach people that you you want to the sales call is not about selling to someone. It's about finding out if they're a good fit.
That's
Really
right.
pre-qualifying, which you should have pre-qualified them some before, but it's more like really getting to know. And if I teach people that if you really don't feel like this person is going to be a great fit for your program, they're not going to get great results, don't sell to them, right?
Don't.
It's going to be a shit show for everyone involved. But if somebody is a really good fit, like you tell them in no uncertain terms, like, look, you are exactly who I designed this program
That's right.
people like you get fantastic results. I really, this is going to be fantastic for you. And then you stand back and let them make their decision, but you
They're
stand for that transformation.
Well, and a lot of people think that being good at sales means manipulating people. That is
Right.
not true. It's their decision. They have free will. One of the things I often liken it to is if you are a committed personal trainer and you're really good at it and you see someone that you could help, you're going to go after it because your heart is calling you to say,
Mm,
Lisa, if you will work with me, you get 10 pounds off this body, your knees will love you. I can help you with that. They're not saying, I've worked with so and so and I've worked with so and so. They're saying, let me help you. Let me get 10 pounds off this body and help your knees. Let me help you wake up with more energy because they see what's possible for me.
hmm
And I'm going to respond to that. And so I think one of the things that we get ourselves mixed up on is when we think we're selling, we're talking about me. I've done this, I've done that, I've done that. Instead, we need to be talking about this is what I see for you. And
Right.
I'm confident I can help you get there. And
Right.
that was a game change for me. A million years ago, I was at an event with Marianne Williamson.
hmm
And she said something to me. I had written a book called Forget Perfect, and she took one title, look at it, and said, "Oh, you must have grown up with a very critical parent." And I was like, "Oh my God, how did you know?" And she said, "You look at the title of anyone's book, and that tells you the thing they had to figure out
Sure.
for themselves." And so for me, this book, Selling with Noble Purpose, was about me figuring out how I could bring this gracious, helpful, this person that I wanted to be in the world, which was making the world a better place, how I could bring that into the world of commerce
hmm
in a way that lifted people up. And it only took me a decade to figure out how to do that and write the book.
I'm right at a decade of figuring out myself. So I feel you on that. Yeah, so I wanted to touch on also, I love it. I love it. You're giving so much value and really speaking to, the heart of what my audience wants. Like they
Yeah,
really want to be of service, but they figured out they've got to make money to be of service. But I think this is also something that happens. Like when I first got into the industry, I'd gone to my coaching school and I was like, I just want to coach. I just want to help. I just
mhm,
want to help. I don't want to sell. I don't want to sell and market. I just want to help. I just want to help.
right,
And finally I realized like I can't be of service to people if I'm having to work another job to support myself while I'm being a
right,
coach, right? Like if I can make money and make enough money doing this, then I can devote myself to it full time and
right.
greater impact. And so I finally got into a training and I finally got over like feeling icky about being a business person. And since then, I feel like I've kind of gone the other direction and I'm like, okay, I'm a business person. How do you find that center of like being of service without overgiving? Because I know
Right.
when we overgive, we lose sales.
We do. We do because we don't value ourselves and our time and our expertise enough.
hmm
And so the way to think about it is I struggled with this for years. Instead of thinking about it as a balance on which side do I want to err, think about it as a triangle. What you're trying to do is get to the top. I want to give a lot and I also want to be paid well for it.
hmm
And so what that means is I have to value my time and my expertise and my customers' time
mm
at the same level.
Okay.
Because when we overgive, we're devaluing ourselves.
hmm
We're saying, I'll do anything for you and you don't even have to pay me and I'll do this and this. When we are too focused on ourselves, we're devaluing our customers.
Okay.
So I need to approach my interaction saying, this person's going to give me 30 minutes of their time. I'm going to give them 30 minutes of my time. And our goal is in this interaction is to figure out how I can help them or if I can help them.
hmm
So, for example, I was running a program for a bunch of consultants and we divided the room in half. And I said, okay, this half of the room, your job is to figure out how you can create $1 million in consulting revenue. This half of the room, your job is to figure out how you can create $10 million in value for your clients.
Wow.
Which group at the end do you think was more compelling, more engaged, and more excited? a $10 million group because they're for the client, because their brain is in the right space. So the way you get those together is you channel that desire to be successful, that assertiveness that you might have, and you channel that. And there's one question that we say you ask before every sales call. If I were to work with this person, how would this customer be different as a result of doing business with me?
Mm-hmm.
How might they be different? And it's very different than I could help them lose some weight.
Mm-hmm.
It's that person's knees will be fabulous.
Right.
It's very different. It's about the impact that you have on customers. And so I often think when we look at our customers, and the reason that we chose to work in corporate rather than with individuals was for that same duality.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make a bigger difference in the world by impacting a bigger groups of people. If I can get a big giant sales force to change their ethos, then I am like literally shifting the way we do business. And because of that, there is more money. They will pay more for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not an either or. It's the bigger, bolder impact you have and the larger number of people you have it on. When your business is set up right, you will make more money. And so if you're a health coach or a business coach and you're thinking about and you have a conversation with someone, the question you need to ask is, how might this person be different as a result of doing business with me? Would they have more leads? Would they feel better? Would they be more at peace? Then let's talk about, what does that look like for you today? Well, we get all wigged out. Sales is one of the few professions where we let the people who define it, who do it badly, define it.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, because I mean there's a whole lot of people that don't know how to sell. And your book talks a lot about management and about how
Mhm.
this problem really starts with the way that management is portraying things. And you talk about how the mission statement is, oh, we serve our clients and we blah 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 blah. But then when you get down to the day to day, it's like, have you met this quota? Have you
When are you
done?
going to close it? When are you going to close it?
When are you going
And
to close?
mhm. And so you can look at $1 billion multinational company with their mission statement at the top of, we are here to improve the world, da 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 da. But when you talk to the day-to-day sales manager, when are you going to close it? How much is it going to be? We move to the internal. But you can also look at an individual, and we do the same damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
This book, the original book, was how I sold my way out of bankruptcy. We had
Oh
taken
wow.
bankruptcy 10 years ago, and my husband had a manufacturing business that failed during the recession. I was a sales consultant, and I said, we lost all our money. Our kids had to go to college. My husband's a manufacturing executive in the middle of the recession who just lost his business. So he wasn't really, someone that everyone was looking to hire. So he came to
Right.
work with me, and I said, I am going to find a way to make money and make a difference at the same time. I'm going to find a path. And I asked the universe, this sales study showed up. I noticed this one thing and I thought, that's it. That's the thing, noble purpose. And so what happens is we can talk about the company, the hypocrisy of a company saying, we want to be wonderful people, and then close it, close it, close it. We do it to ourselves.
Right.
When I was broke, I would sit there on my best day and say, I want to make a difference. I want to do this. Then I'm looking at this pile of bills going, oh my God, I've got to sell something. Who's next on my list? So, I mean, the fact that it happens in the big, it happens to us.
It does.
And just admit we're human. You need money. You want money. You're not a bad person. You got to live.
Right.
And besides living, you also might want abundance. No judgment. We all want that.
Want to thrive.
Right. So the secret is to not deny that energy,
Mm-hmm.
but to take that energy that says, oh, I want to do good. I want to, and point it, and to say, let's take all this energy. Let's take a deep breath and say, how will this customer be different?
Mm-hmm.
Lean into them.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, all the energy is pointed in the right way.
Right.
And you're not fighting this push-pull.
Right. And I've heard that I've heard that, especially one of the last trainings that I did, they really emphasized, instead of talking about the features of your
Mhm,
program or your product or whatever, really talk about the benefits,
mhm.
because your product or your program, and how it can change people's lives, and these people don't know what they don't know. But if you can connect those dots for them,
Right.
and say, this is the benefit, this is how it's going to change you.
then it makes all the difference. And in order to be able to do that, you have to have had a conversation with them.
Hmm.
You have to have had a conversation with them, either a one-on-one conversation with one customer, or you need the collective intelligence about what a target market is looking for. And the thing that happens is people say they want to make a difference, but one of the chapters in the book is why specificity is sexy.
Mm.
And you've got to get specific about how you're trying to improve people's lives. So like I said, our purpose, drive revenue and do work that makes you proud, the money and the meaning. That's
Mhm.
us. If you're a health coach, it may be you're trying to help people live longer lives.
Mhm.
It may be you're trying to help people live more exciting lives. Those are two different things. And
Right.
so we have a formula that we use to help people find their own noble purpose.
Lovely. Now, I will confess, I have been going through the book. It's so accessible, it's so easy to read, but it is so like value rich that I keep stopping on my Kindle and like making all these notes. So I haven't made it very far into the book. Is that formula something that you have in the book?
Yeah, it's in the book and we've got some examples of it. And I'll tell you, it's really simple. It's 3 discovery questions.
Hmm.
How do you make a difference to your
Hmm.
customers? How do you do it differently than your competition? And on your best day, what do you love about your job? And when you answer those 3 questions deeply, reflectively, factually, emotionally, and really think about those answers, within that
Hmm.
is your noble purpose. It is sitting inside the answers.
Hmm.
And so I'll give you some examples for some of ours. One of our customers is a bank, and their noble purpose is we fuel prosperity.
I love that one,
I
and
love that one.
they're so simple.
It's so simple. It's simple, not easy. And
Sure.
that came after we interviewed them and a bunch of their clients, the answers to the 3 questions. And it was obvious there was this pull through thread
Hmm.
that it was not just about wealth, it was
Hmm.
about true prosperity. It was
Mm.
not just about us giving it to you. It was giving you the tools. So that's where we came up with fuel. We have another client, which is Dave and Buster's. We worked with their sales team. I don't know if you know they had a sales team, but they do. They sell corporate events. And
Yeah.
their sales team was we champion laugh out loud fun.
Oh, yeah.
Totally different, but their job is to help all these people that have events there have fun.
Right.
That used to be a thing we did. Then another client that we worked with was in the medical space,
Hmm.
and theirs was we do now what patients need next. I know, that was
Oh,
a good one.
that's
Another one that we worked with was somebody in the IT space. They did IT services, and this company drove 10x growth on this, sold the company for a huge multiple, and got franchisees all around the country engaged in it. The statement was so simple: "We help small businesses be more successful."
that was the IT company, right?
Yeah, not sexy, not anything elaborate, but just like everything that we do is about helping small businesses be more successful.
Hmm.
Every single person that's out there, how are you helping the customer be more successful? That single statement and their alignment around it, adherence to it, creativity
Mm.
about how to implement drove 10x growth. They sold for a huge multiple because everyone was aligned. And it doesn't matter whether you have thousands of people or just one of you. You've got
Right.
to get clarity. You've got to get a sight line towards that because that's what'll fuel your business.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So I did read at least some of what you have on that earlier part of the book, and I love it because we talk, especially like spiritual entrepreneurs.
Mhm,
We really talk about, oh, I want to be in alignment. I want to be in alignment, and so often it's just kind of this hazy, vague, like
mhm.
just like it's this ethereal thing. But I love how this is just such a practical way. It's like you have this focus, and you talk in the book about how all your decisions go,
Go to that.
and if they
Mhm.
don't, if it doesn't align with that, then it doesn't happen.
Then you shouldn't be doing it. And so, a lot of people, especially in the spiritual realm, have a hard time getting clear on the money. And so I would say if you are a spiritual coach, I mean, your noble purpose can be I open people's hearts to the divine. I
Mm.
mean, that can be it. But then if that's your noble purpose, then you need to start asking, whose hearts want to be open? What's
Right.
possible for those people? Where are those people? How do I reach those people? If I'm talking to one of those people, I need to say, what does being open to the divine mean for you? What does the divine look like for you? What tools do you need to be open? I mean, I can go a lot of places with it,
I
but
love
every single one of those is pointed around that same thing. And
that. Just, I love it. It's so practical.
it's practical. And I use that example to show it's also aspirational.
Hmm.
And so, I would make the point that every time a religion is doing their job, they are serving people. They
Hmm.
stop doing their job when they start serving themselves.
Sure.
Same things happens with a coach, same thing happens with a company. And
Hmm.
it's not because anybody's bad. It's because it's human nature, and it's a lot easier for me to measure how much money I'm making than it is for me to measure how much I'm making a difference to customers.
Hmm.
So the more specific you can be about how you are making a difference to customers, that'll give you something tangible you can tether yourself to, because otherwise your natural tendency is to tether yourself to your own finances.
Sure.
And that's where you get in the, okay, we're making money, time to make the donuts, time to make the donuts.
I've made this much money. Now I need to make more. Now how can I scale? And so much of the focus, in the coaching world is, how to scale, and everybody is like constantly about 10x month, or 10xing your income, and 10K months.
Right.
Those are beautiful and wonderful things, but I feel that a lot of times the service and the, like, making a difference for people gets lost. So thank you so much for this. This is just amazing. I want to give you a few minutes to tell people how they could work with you. Do you have any workshops? How they can
Mhm.
find your book? Um, talk about your, yeah, how they can find you on social media, everything. And I'll be happy to put in links as well.
The best way to find me is Google Noble Purpose, and there my website will be.
Ah,
So we do a lot of work on LinkedIn. You can join me every Friday on my LinkedIn Live at 1:30. And you can also sign up for our LinkedIn newsletter. In the past, we have not worked with individuals. However, we are launching a program in October for individuals. So if you sign up on LinkedIn for our newsletter, or you sign up on our website for our newsletter, we'll have something in there when we're launching it in just a couple of weeks for individuals.
it's so
And we did
exciting.
I'm excited because we did that because we had a lot of coaches, which is a topic near and dear to my heart, because I just look at where we are today, and the systems that we have in place are not going to support the level of human development that we need to step into the next evolution.
I
The
agree.
development that we need of our hearts, of our spirits, of our skills, of our resilience, of our sense of purpose and place in the world. The the
Hmm.
the current infrastructure, communities, both our government, companies are not going to be able to support that. They can't drive us there. And it's going to take the coaches, the healers, the spiritual people in all different realms taking us to that next level. It is so important, and we need those people in this world right now.
We do now more than ever. And
Mhm.
a lot of people felt like Corona was going to make it really hard to make sales, and it hasn't, because people are kind of, they're waking up to their callings, and they're also
They
seeing,
are.
like, I know that this past year would have been as difficult, as challenging as it's been, would have been utter and complete hell if I didn't have the tools
Right.
that I have from personal growth.
That's
You know?
right, and everyone is needing that, and it's the thing that coaches need to realize. What happened in this environment is 2 things that are great news for anyone in the coaching or healing practices. Number 1 is everyone has done a reset and is asking existential questions about who am I and why am I here?
Hmm.
That's where coaching sits, and the other thing that's happened is nobody gives a shit about where anybody lives anymore. You
Right.
can coach anybody anywhere in the world, and
Yep.
if they are dialing into your house in Greensboro, Georgia, they don't care. Nobody cares. If they're calling into your house and sitting on the phone with you, all those things that used to make us feel, if you were a solopreneur, I don't have the big office, I don't have this. Nobody cares anymore at all.
No,
No one cares.
Can you help me? And I love
It's leveled it.
I'm sorry.
It's leveled the playing field, which
It
is
has.
great news.
It really is. And I love that you're stepping in. And I know, myself, and there's a lot of other coaches that don't necessarily make it their platform like you and I do, but they are, they do teach very ethical, high integrity marketing and sales techniques. And I think it's now more important than ever because people do need this. And unfortunately, a lot of people have a really negative association with the coaching
They
and
do.
growth industry because there are people that are great at marketing and sales, but they're not great at what they do, you
Yeah.
know. And some of them, I say there's con artists that flat out they know they're not good and they don't care. There's people that are just delusional. They think they think they're good and they really have no idea what they're doing. And then there's the people that are, the real deal. And I want more. One of the reasons I'm so passionate about my niche is I want more of the high integrity, really ethical
Mhm.
people out here representing my industry. These are the people I want as my colleagues. And I also want them, I want to have this huge ripple effect where they're getting their dreams out into the world and they're getting their work out into the world. And then it just, it builds on itself. But yeah, I want the high integrity people doing this though. So I'm so excited that you're opening up and I'm going to be checking that out.
Awesome. It's such a pleasure to be with you, Heather.
Yes, thank you so much I know you're busy, so I really appreciate the time. I know we've had a couple of comments. I'm sure people are getting so much out of this. Would love to have you back sometime.
Sure thing.
Where the best place to get the book? Is that on like your website?
You can go on our website. You can go on Amazon, Selling with Noble Purpose. It looks like this.
And it's on Audible and
It's on Audible, Kindle, hardcover, whatever works for you. I wrote the book for the ADD salespeople and coaches that I work with.
uh,
So you can read one chapter. If that's all you want to read. It's written as a bunch of little short snippets. So easy to read, easy to act on.
it's very, very accessible, but it's like, but still like just so dense. It's lovely. Well,
Okay.
enjoy your day, Lisa. Thank you so much for being live with us.
Thanks. Such a pleasure.
Bye, everybody.